Well, hello again, everyone. It's me, Nick Michalak, and the stellar Steve Frazier.
Well, hello again, everybody.
And sometimes they come back.
That's us. We came back.
We came back with more Stephen King. So, guys, if you have your own copy of the film, I want you to get your timestamp over to 0 and get your subtitles turned on if you have them, because I did buy a DVD of this, which was the Olive Films DVD. It had no subtitles, so we're actually watching a ad-free streaming version on YouTube. Hopefully this all goes well, but they do have captions, so that should follow along nicely. So, guys, get yourself synced up, and we'll get going in with a countdown to move along on that whole thing. So, in 3, 2, 1, play.
It's nice that we have an option here for folks that might not own this movie. It is not necessarily easy to come by.
Yeah.
They can pull it up right on the YouTube and watch along with us.
Yeah. Should know the one that's on from Olive Films has like a 10-second intro with the Olive Films logo, so you should
bypass that
before and start with the MGM logo.
Right, that roaring lion.
Yeah.
0-0.
Right now we're all on black screen, so I can't talk about the aspect ratio situation here. But
right.
We'll
Bobby Rusler there is our favorite guy from
Grady.
Yep, Grady. This is, if anyone is a frequent listener of our commentaries, you can go back in the archives, and we've covered many of the Stephen King universe, and one in particular stands out for me, and that was when we covered Children of the Corn.
Yes.
And the reason, well, for many reasons, it stands out for me. One, because it's a terrible movie, and the commentary is wonderful in screenplay structure, conversation.
Yes.
Number 2 is that book, or I'm sorry, the story that it's based on, the story that was based on is actually only about 30 pages long, which translated into a feature film where they had to completely make up 2/3 of it.
Right.
Now, that being said, this movie, Sometimes They Come Back, is based on another short story. It is a grand total of 28 pages long.
Okay.
24, 28? It's either 24 or 28, I don't remember. And the difference being, it covers the complete story.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like, they didn't have to make anything up.
I know they changed a number of things.
Yeah, we'll get into that.
On the back end of the film.
Yes, the back end of the film is very different. Very different.
The story wasn't originally, it was published in a magazine first, but then it was collected in The Night Shift, which has Children of the Corn and several other stories.
Correct. King got a lot of his early work writing for magazines. He would, sell little shorts to this one, to that one. And then eventually, he publishes Carrie. He gets a little bit of notoriety. And the publisher says, oh, well, why don't we curate all of these little ones and put out a collection? I think Night Shift was the first one of those.
Okay. Since we now have actual things to talk about in terms of film footage, this was done as a TV movie for CBS.
Correct.
In 91. This is hot off of It, so this is why, a lot of reason this one gets fast-tracked in that regard. So it aired on, it was like a 4x3 format TV broadcast, but it was also released theatrically in a couple of other places internationally.
Okay. I was going to say, domestic? No.
It was like Germany, Denmark, Brazil, and probably a couple other ones, but those are the only ones listed on IMDb. But so that's why usually you would have a 4x3 screen, but I think they shot it in Super 35 so they could kind of blow it up and mat it off and not lose that much resolution.
Right.
But there's
hey, Chicago Cubs, go Cubs, go!
But there's at least 3 different aspect ratios released. One is the 4x3 one, which is on the original DVD. Most of the other releases are this one, which is made to CinemaScope 2.35. But the one from Koch Media in I think Germany is actually 1.78 to 1, so it's opened up more. And I think that one looks. I was looking at some comparisons. I think the framing looks a little better on that one. knowing what I knew about that, watching this, it's like there's a couple points in times like, oh, the framing looks a little bit off.
Are you saying that on that one, it's the same width, but it is taller?
Yeah, the meta is opened up vertically.
Okay.
So you have more height on the whole thing.
So basically, it's the flat, quote unquote, the 4x3, but just blown up to fit the full screen, kind of.
More or less, it's just more like just like a regular one that's matted off, a 4x3 matted off. But with Super 35, James Cameron did this a lot with Terminator 2, True Lies, Titanic, whatnot. He shot Super 35, but he matted off to that, but also he could easily recompose it for a 4x3 VHS release or something else like that at the time. So for like these widescreen versions, you actually get more image on the sides of the whole thing. So this one's kind of doing a bit of a weird compromise doing the cinemascope thing, where you open up the sides more, but you're cutting up more on the top and bottom.
Right.
So if you have the one that's more like direct 16:9, you probably got the best of both worlds on that thing. So that's only available on the German release, which has this ratio and the 16:9 ratio.
That makes sense.
There's just a few points where it's like, oh, the framing looks a little tight or looks a little bit off in some places. It just kept hitting me in some places, just knowing what I know and know what I know enough about cinematography and framing.
Yeah, that's interesting that there's that many different versions.
Yeah, so I was tempted to... Tom McLoughlin is on Twitter, but apparently he hasn't interacted for like a year, so I was like, I half tempted to tweet him or something like that to ask him, like, what's the preferred aspect ratio for you? What did you actually film it for? And what was the version you kind of prefer, something like that. But maybe if we ever get a special edition DVD, we'll get an interview with him saying something.
Sure.
Or he approves the transfer with the right ratio. But it's produced by Dino De Laurentiis, who he did one... which ones did he do? I'm trying to remember what he did. Another one I think he did Dead Zone. I think he produced.
Okay,
Dead Zone. I think
yeah, that sounds right. That sounds right.
And one or two others from King. He grabbed a couple rights here and there sporadically.
So this, I guess we can start off here with some slight differences.
Sure.
In the story, the kids were kind of talking about how the teacher comes with baggage
sure.
in some way, which I guess is technically true, but it wasn't fleshed out in that manner in the book.
In here, it doesn't seem like they really pinned down exactly what the story is. There's kind of like rumors and speculation of what actually happened.
Correct. In the novel, he gets the job being a teacher, and his last period of the day is a kind of a remedial English class, where, this guy here is saying that, oh, this is basically for jocks and airheads.
Yeah.
And
it coast through it.
Right, coast through it. Whereas in the book, it's portrayed as more folks that didn't quite cut it and need, like
a little extra help.
Right. Which a lot of the jocks and airheads fell into, I suppose.
Probably, yeah.
Because,
they just
but it wasn't
trying as much.
Right. It wasn't presented in quite the same manner.
And apparently they never really state where this is, where the film takes place, but it was shot in like Kansas and Missouri, so it's not Connecticut, where I think the book is said to take place.
Yeah, I don't honestly, even though I just read it, I don't remember them being specific.
Yeah, but this, it does.
It was New England for sure.
This speaks to me Midwest on most parts. You want to tell me it's New England? Okay, sure. It doesn't really have the architecture or anything for it. But it still suits the tone of the whole thing.
Right. Apparently he's a Gryffindor, according to that necktie he's wearing.
Yeah, it was interesting looking at the credits because, of course, we got Tom McLoughlin directing this whole thing, who did Jason Lives.
Right.
And he has the same editor. He worked on Jason Lives and Friday 5. And the cinematographer shot Jason Takes Manhattan.
Wow, there's quite a connection there.
Yeah. But I was noting, as we go along, this is a very visually good film. They do a lot. It doesn't feel like a TV movie.
I would agree with that. And I was a little apprehensive because I remember there being a lot of substance to this movie. Mm. And I was apprehensive going into the novella because I thought, how in the world...
You're going to cram it all in.
Are you going to... Right, and make it where I can follow along and have all of the...
That it has a flow and it doesn't feel stumbly or...
Right, but...
Stripping over itself.
Believe it or not, Stephen King, the greatest of all time... I mean, just like that.
Sure.
Here's all of the emotions and the visuals laid right out in 24 pages.
And speaking of Dead Zone, Brooke Adams, she was with Chris Walken in that film.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I don't remember the events of the movie. Now, I haven't watched this in probably 10 years.
Okay.
And I don't remember the events of the movie matching what I just read in the story, like shot for shot. So I'm actually kind of, I mean, the idea is there.
The generalizations, yeah.
Right. The bullies and the brother and like all of that under the underpass.
Yeah.
But I'm curious to go back and see now, kind of in real time, just what they did here. Mm-hmm. And we do know. And maybe you don't know, but the ending is very different.
Yeah, I read. Interesting. I was looking up the audiobook.
Okay.
It's not available. I listened to a sample of it, but you can't get it on Audible right now because of license or rights or something like that. But it's actually narrated by John Glover.
Okay.
Who's in our next commentary in reference too.
Interesting. Now, I imagine that one would only take about, an hour and a half or so to go through.
Probably, yeah. But it was part of a Night Shift Collections
okay.
bulk thing, so I don't know exactly.
So it might be different chapters or whatever.
Right.
All right, so we've got two brothers.
Mm-hmm.
We've got, I believe I see 4 different bullies there.
Yeah.
It is very apparent in the novel. I'll call it the novel, even though it's not, but you know what I mean?
Yeah, the book.
That he is struggling with these bad dreams and has been since he was a child.
Okay.
They're just recurring over and over again.
Does refer to the fact that it's happening again.
Yeah.
It's recurring.
So that part of it was...
Starting to happen again.
Yes, a Robert Rusler.
It's not caked in sweat and stuff on this one.
She's in the cabana and you're here with me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Matheson is fantastic in this whole thing. A lot of the praise was for his performance in this thing at the time. And he really earns it.
There is a very interesting difference right now off the top here that in the story... They do not have a child.
Okay.
So that was an addition for the movie. Not that that's a huge deal.
A plus or minus on the thing.
If anything, it gives empathy. I guess it creates... not empathy. I guess it creates...
relatability?
Right, yeah. It makes him more sympathetic, I guess. As a family man, as opposed to somebody who's not tied down.
Right.
Really great transitions here on the flashback scenes, and
do a lot of in-camera stuff. Shifting the lighting and stuff like that.
Right.
Using a lot of great Steadicam work in this film. There's a lot of great camera work.
It is it is very obvious, like, what is a flashback / dream.
Oh, yeah. They're using a little bit of slow-mo, just slight high-speed photography for it.
And it's a little bit washed out.
Yeah, diffused and everything. Real slow. I mean, Jason Lives is the slickest-looking film in that franchise. And it's all due to McLoughlin just having a real solid vision of just amping up the production values.
Right. Great. I love that, where they both turn their head.
Yeah.
it very much drives home that, like, which one he is.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean? Now, the older brother, Wayne, did they call him Wayne in the movie? It's Wayne in the book.
He is Wayne.
Okay.
Yes.
It's Wayne in the story. So, is that actor somebody? Did he go on to be somebody? Because he looks very familiar.
The only thing I knew him from when he was in a Star Trek Next Generation episode.
Oh, that's just one episode.
And then everything else was just like one-off guest appearances and little roles here and there. I didn't see nothing that I terribly recognized. Maybe you got a different perspective.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm going to see if I can pull it up real quick. And did a lot of TV, for sure.
Right, yeah.
A lot of one episodes. No, he's in Blank Check, the feature film.
Yeah, huh. Yeah, I hadn't seen this probably like, I don't know, 25 years close to, and it's like, the one thing I remember was like, there was something about a tunnel and a train. So it's like that iconography just stuck in my head. It's like, there's one thing to remember, it was really much that.
By the way, one of the things, as far as visuals, that I remember is the poster art for the movie.
Right, the flames.
With the flames and that beautiful car.
Yeah.
Right?
It's on my DVD cover.
Yeah, and what a beautiful photo.
Yeah.
Because to me, the car here is just as much like a character in the movie as Buttface.
I mean, especially later on when it starts spewing the flames out the back.
Right.
Yeah.
They even nailed a little bit of the character here in the front with the reddish hair.
Yeah.
Like, even the description of that character is, like, spot on from the story. In the story, that particular one, I don't know if the character names translate, but his nickname was Bleach.
Okay.
Because he had tried to dye his hair, and it didn't work, and then, like, when he tried to fix it, it just turned red.
Oh.
So his nickname was Bleach.
Okay.
I thought that was a cute little anecdote.
And interesting, one of the bullies' his name is Vinnie Vincent, the character's name.
Oh, okay. Vinnie Vincent, a former member of the band Kiss, went on to have his own little solo career. Is currently a nut job.
Yeah,
may or may not be transsexual. We don't know.
He's very eccentric. He came out of reclusiveness like 7 years ago, and you weren't quite sure.
Just recently had an entire debacle where he basically told somebody that somebody was going to be the lead singer on his record, and then changed his mind and didn't really tell him, and was like, sorry, this guy's out. Like, he's just not a good communicator. He's kind of a weird dude.
Let's see why Gene and Paul kind of moved on.
Yeah.
I think Bruce Kulick was a solid
number one.
Solid,
really the best
on the ground type of guy.
Yeah. In the movie, the character's name is Vinnie Vincent.
Mm-hmm.
In the story, it's not. It's Vinnie. His name is Vinnie, but it's not Vincent.
Okay, intriguing.
So, this is spot on. The four boys.
I didn't catch the name of who did that teleplay. It was Mark Rosenthal.
Yeah, there's old Robert Rusler there.
Okay. One of the guys who wrote the adaptation, he worked on some bad things, such as the Jewel Denial, the Romancing the Stone sequel that didn't go off well, Superman 4, but also wrote the Star Trek 6, which was very good. And another guy, Lawrence Connor, I'm not familiar with.
Okay, this is very interesting right now.
Yeah, the guy would end up writing stuff on Sopranos and Boardwalk Empire, so that's something worth a damn.
That's a hell of a career.
And it seems the two of them had worked on all those other films together as well, so.
Okay, so here is difference number 2, if we're going to keep track. In the story, the Wayne character, the brother, gets stabbed and killed, and it's very much left at that.
Yeah, okay.
There is no, like, they're in a tunnel with the train tracks, but there's no train. The train accident is not part of the original story.
They're chased down by the cops, and there's an accident involved.
Correct. But that's not even revealed until later on.
Okay.
When old Jim is trying to investigate what happened to the boys.
Yeah.
And, you know, when he puts the pieces together later on that they were dead. Mm-hmm. Because that's actually part of what is intriguing, is that he doesn't know that they're dead in the story.
Right.
So when they appear in the classroom,
and
he's
they
saying,
aged today.
Right, exactly. He goes, I don't understand how this is possible, and eventually he puts it together.
Yeah.
Through help of the policeman. He actually contacts the policeman here that helped him when he was a kid.
And apparently what I also read, that policeman appears in it, right? They're not the same actor, but the character.
The character. I don't know.
That's the one that I read a trivia bit about that. Track down the characters.
But in the story, it's Mr. Nell, I believe.
That sounds the same thing.
And Officer Nell. Now,
yeah, Officer Nell sounds very familiar. Yes.
That does not sound familiar to me as far as the It universe goes, but I could be wrong. I mean, or just, you know, senile.
That was something a couple trivia beats claimed. You know, like I said, they didn't take his. You know, if he wasn't in the adaptation before that, they were saying like he was adapted from one book and the next. But this one would have been written like 7-8 years before it even came around. So.
Right.
Also, is it in the book of how long it is between the kids getting killed and when the thing takes place?
It's like 15 or 16 years.
Okay.
Difference.
Because in this thing they say it's 27 years.
Okay. Well,
which is the same thing that ties in with the It stuff. And
right. So. No, in the story it's only...
They're still trying to tie it back to... Because that was this like late 70s when he wrote it. Now this is the early 90s. They're not kind of transitioning to make it that, so they have to expand the time between it.
It was actually, I think it was 74 that he wrote it.
So yeah, So 15 years of work then, but now you have to kind of add another almost another 15 to stretch back the 50s. But that kind of makes sense. Okay, if it's only 15 years later, it makes sense that he probably doesn't have a kid yet. But if he's more like 45 or something in this whole thing,
right, you have to expand the story.
It sinks more, yeah.
And the part about the character's name is Chip. The last name is different in the story, but the story is the same. In which he basically, you know, the Chip character is a bully, and you know he's obviously a bad student, and the teacher threatens to fail him.
Yeah,
and then Chip, says that they're going to get repercussions and get back at him.
Yeah.
It's very interesting that they made it 27 years.
Yeah, exactly.
As almost, I would guess, as a Easter egg kind of situation.
I'm guessing that because it was thoroughly noted in a lot of trivia
Which
about it.
You'd also then think that they would set this in the same town.
You would think, maybe.
Because if
Here
not,
there and everywhere.
If not, what's the difference? Why?
Right.
You know,
I don't know. I'd rate his mullet, man. It's definitely a 91 mullet.
Yeah, that's a 91 mullet, but by 91 standards, it's very mediocre, I think.
It's not enough volume.
Right. It's got to be higher on the top and longer in the back.
Sure, yeah.
He's beginner.
Starter mullet.
Yeah, right. That van is something else, huh?
Yeah.
VW bus or whatever it is.
Straight out of the year the book was written.
Absolutely.
At least.
Now, this character does
Really?
not really exist in the
Okay.
story.
It was a nice...
Well, I take that back. I take that back. There are... I don't remember if the character's name is Billy.
Okay.
But there were 2 or 3...
Inciting incidents?
Yeah, 2 or 3 students of his, good students, that mysteriously died, like
Okay.
over the weekend, over Christmas break,
Yeah.
over whatever.
Sure.
It does stretch out for pretty much the whole school year.
Okay.
They
Similar to Christine.
right, but they tone it down. They really tighten it up here. I
Oh,
believe.
yeah. It's about a couple of weeks at best.
Right.
Not even that long.
But between all of them, yeah. So they do go into a little bit more detail here on showing you the kids getting run down or killed or whatever. This is great.
Yeah.
Where the
Showing that it is only particular people who can
visually,
perceive this.
right.
Oh.
Ow. And really, the tragedy of it all is that poor guitar that was strapped to his
yeah.
back. I mean,
That's toast now. Oof.
wow.
Good son, good makeup.
Yeah, I mean, for ABC or whatever. And
CBS, yeah.
CBS, sure.
I don't think there's any budget listed for this stuff. There usually isn't.
Yeah, I guess.
I can't imagine they spent more than $1 million on this. I don't know.
This teacher's being very aggressive.
Yeah,
Or the principal
yeah.
rather.
He's very, very stern.
Yeah, he doesn't seem to be sympathetic in any way.
Yeah, well, it was like after the introduction scene here in the classroom, you see him talking with the jocks and whatnot, and because the principal's all about that stuff, like, oh, don't funk these guys, give them a pass,
Right.
stuff like that. He's not overt about it, but you visually very good stuff on filmmaking. You're showing him talking with those guys right after that scene, then he goes off and talks with Jim. So it's like you can see where the priorities are. It's like he's not aligning himself with the teachers so much. He's much more about getting these kids through so he can keep the school kind of looking good.
I love the little flashback.
Oh, yeah.
Just in case you're not sure, they give you the
Right,
visual reminder.
Just like you're a little in the disbelief, like, really? Well, what the hell? Because one, as I was kind of watching this, it's like, is it a trick of something like that? And then regards, because in the previous scene, everyone else can't see them in the car, so you're just trying to slightly resolve: is he really seeing the guy, or is this kind of a trick type of thing where he's not really there, but only the teacher's seeing it? So it's nice to kind of try to establish things a little bit further as the scene goes on, that it is as you're perceiving it.
By the way, great little, not from the story, but just a nice little director thing. If you notice the quote on the board, it says, I believe it says, "What is done cannot be undone."
Okay.
I just thought that was just a nice little Shakespearean quote about that
Yeah.
correlates to the movie. I don't know.
Yeah.
This is actually like right out of the story. The "Why do you keep staring at me" bit.
I'm going to say Rusler does a fantastic job in this whole thing. I was just super impressed.
Robert Rusler has one of his greatest acting abilities is this like sarcastic anger almost.
Okay.
You know what I mean? I feel like he pulls this off in every role he's ever had. Like he has the ability to just kind of to go to angry from playful and believable. Like you're kind of afraid of him.
Oh, yeah.
Not just in this, but in
Yeah.
Even this is right in the story, actually. Chip throws, I think it's a grapefruit or something. And again, we've got him, the perception that he's crazy.
Oh, yeah.
Right as the principal walks in.
It's all shading him in such bad lights.
And really, the breakdown is just because of the trauma of his brother being murdered, you know? So, I feel like that's something that in the story could have easily been determined and communicated.
Yeah.
You know. In fact, the story in the book opens with the description of his job interview.
Okay.
With the principal. And they say, you know, you've got a very storied past. Mm-hmm. And he says, well, you know, I had this.
What do you have to say for yourself?
Right, yeah. So basically, you know, thanks for taking a chance on me.
Right. You know, all this stuff starts happening. It's kind of jeopardizing the goodwill he had walking into this thing.
Right. But there's an element of understanding on the part of his superiors, as opposed to here, it almost seems like they created the animosity to perpetuate that part of the story, which, you know, I guess if you have to stretch it out,
create some additional conflict to just give some extra substance.
I love a small town. It's a nice suede coat she's got there.
Oh, yeah. And there's your kid from Leprechaun.
Yes! I was going to say, I know he looks familiar. Yeah, obviously none of this was in the story because he didn't have a kid to...
Yeah.
The shoes were not part of the original encounter, but it's a nice little addition, I suppose. So, aside from the change in adult Jim learning the fate of the boys
outright
as an adult, I feel like what they've done is pretty good, you know.
Mm. And you're still following his perspective through the whole thing. So then create something where like the audience knows something that he doesn't know, something else like that, and
which I hate.
Irony, nonsense stuff. So
I hate that.
Still maintain that mentality of just making sure that you're seeing everything through his eyes.
Yeah, I mean that's really the best, right? When the audience and the characters go on the journey together.
Yeah.
And how cool is this? He is watching TV, and all of a sudden it morphs into another.
Yeah.
You know,
like a
flashback, memory.
Like a 8mm home movie thing.
Right. Which, it's interesting, the connections, because they really did a lot of that in It. Like, this feels, the miniseries, the TV movie.
Yeah.
It really feels like as well of a production, as well produced.
Yeah.
There's a lot of similar, you know, movies, you know, cinematography and editing choices. you know, you're just expecting, like, Pennywise the clown to appear in this bad dream, you know?
Sure.
But I guess in this story, it's the greasers, not a clown. I love that he got all the way up real close to the TV.
Yeah, nice that they're using all the tools. Using the visuals, using the train horn.
The train horn is a very eerie sound.
Yeah.
And
especially when you have the right design for it, when you have a little bit of the reverb and the kind of a spatial type of thing, it sounds like it's kind of almost ghostly to that.
Right,
degree.
like an echo.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because it's in the distance, but it's there.
Yeah.
Ghostly is a great word to describe it. If you're going to have, you know, shorten up the story and have the boys just die right there.
Yeah.
I don't think you could have designed it any better than with the train and it hitting the car and one of them escaping, because one did live in the story.
Yeah.
It's a very 90s denim vest with a little star appliques all over it.
Yeah.
But a turtleneck. Oh, I can't do it.
Yeah.
Cannot do a turtleneck. She looks familiar, too.
I don't know if for me, it looks too familiar. She's got a little Nev Campbell in the craft thing.
Okay.
Just the dark hair and kind of the dark lipstick, stuff like that. She's kind of...
I guess she's got a little Taryn from Nightmare 3 in her.
A little, yeah.
And that actually looks like the jail from Nightmare 3, or Nightmare on Elm Street. What's that girl's name in the story? Kate? Is that Kate?
I don't know.
I think
what
it
else
is.
We got?
Yeah, it's got to be Kate.
Probably. I don't know.
It looks like her. It looks like her.
Looks like her. What's the actress's name?
Her name is Tasia. Tasia. Valenza. She's very Italian. According to this, she was only in 3 films. And then apparently 3 television items, including a Star Trek Discovery recently.
Star Trek The Next Generation, Duckman. Star Trek Discovery. That's
Duckman!
very peculiar.
Oh, I guess she had a whole bunch of other little roles on...
okay. Wikipedia is very peculiar.
Yeah, it's weird.
You need to hire someone to organize that.
I know a guy.
I am a guy.
I know you. If anybody needs their Wikipedia organized, contact old boy next to me here. The story is such that it does make you his idea that he's going crazy is not out of the question.
Yeah.
Because you're still kind of wondering, like, is he really crazy? Or is this actually happening?
Yeah.
It's a very interesting plant, like a giant tree thing, weeping willow in their living room. It's starting to happen again. That kid is great.
Yeah.
He was great in Leprechaun. He's great in this. I will say that if they came from Chicago, wherever they are is inferior. And now we have another dead student, which means we get another transfer.
I like this. He's just laying back.
Yep.
Bryce staring him down.
Yep. Not doing a damn thing.
Oh, yeah.
I'm trying to read the quote on the wall, on the board, the quote of the week. Great little smile.
Yeah,
oh,
he's
man.
Good, man. He's so good in this.
Just enough eye makeup to really...
Yeah, not kicking it on. Just making a little dark around the edges. And this thing is very well edited. Not just edited, but the way everything's structured, where you have that get in, get out quick.
Right.
It didn't
linger.
He didn't have 3 scenes where he's going to this person, trying to explain what he just saw. We're just going to jump to the point of it, where the story takes the next progression.
Right.
Everyone's starting to doubt him. It was like, oh, we've given it a certain amount of time out here. We're going to kind of throw in the towel.
Look at that. Look at that coat. And a matching hat. Oh, my God.
Me and the black guy.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Fur on fur.
Oh, yeah.
Give it to me. There's not enough fur in the world to...
It's not a rat hat.
Well...
Bob Sacramento.
It's a very eerie barn. Which he visualized or dreamed or something, right?
Yeah, he just had a couple flashes of her being attacked and stuff like that, and probably just a few minor pieces of the surrounding area just got into the vision.
Now, I will say that an element that is developed here in the movie that is not present in the book is the idea that he, Jim, could be a suspect in these.
Okay.
Like, that is never even a thought in the story. But it's kind of presented as such here, right? With the principal saying, no, I didn't saw any car but yours. All of a sudden, he's now led them here.
Right.
Like, you can understand...
It's a logical progression of train of thought.
Right, like, just as an audience member, a viewer of the movie, I think, oh, well, maybe he actually could be the killer.
Yeah. That's the director's sister.
Oh, really?
She was one of the counselors that gets killed off, and Jason lives. She's the one driving the VW Bug or whatnot.
The credit card.
The stab through the tire and everything.
I didn't recognize her.
It's a few years on, but
not many.
No. But once I
5 maybe.
Once I found that fact, I was like, okay, okay. Yeah, I guess it's started pulled together. She's styled up more. But you're playing like the psychologist here.
And again, like, there's that, both of them were in your class, you had emotional problems.
Yeah.
Even though they're framing it as, how are you handling it, there's still that question of doubt.
Yeah.
Plausible.
There's just an unanswered factor in the situation that someone has to get an answer for at some point.
Great blue eyes on
Oh, yeah.
on the actor there.
Yeah, Matheson.
Matheson.
Yeah. Looked up, he was Emmy nominated for The West Wing twice. Played the vice president.
Oh, okay.
Next to Martin Sheen. There he is. He's a little paled out and a little red around the eyes. I mean,
Yeah.
They're doing real nice, subtle makeup on these guys to make them just a little creepy. And the performances are carrying the rest really, really well. Then they cast some really good actors who gelled very well in that gang, and they're all doing some distinctive, intimidating things.
Right.
And the fact that the class is kind of run by the digbag jocks,
Right.
that no one's really kind of like standing up or having any objection about these guys or saying anything or doing anything about it.
I was trying to figure out what they call the character here, but I can't find the actor off the top of my head. I'll keep looking. I didn't want to distract from the talking here too much. Yeah, see there now she's talking to the cop. They're looking over slightly in suspicion.
Mm-hmm.
I love the little flashbacks, even though we've seen that key drop 3 times now.
Yeah.
It fits perfectly every time, just so you don't forget,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
So I think the actor you're looking for is Nicholas Sadler here. He's playing Vinny.
Oh, okay.
He's in a couple things. He's in Twister, Disclosure, Scent of a Woman,
Hooah!
Stop or My Mom Will Shoot.
I love it.
Some good and bad things.
So, this is actually in the story as well, where the Chip character kind of does a face turn.
Yeah, he's too freaked out now, man.
Right. And he basically says that I don't really like hanging out with those new guys, those transfer people. They're creepy, and I believe what he says is that the two transfers were planning on, like, causing physical harm to the teacher.
Yeah.
And Chip, as much as he doesn't like the teacher, says,
It's too over the line
it's too much for me.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to warn you, like, hey, if they did something, I had nothing to do with it.
And that creates a nice, well-rounded character. It's not just a one-note type of thing. You give him just a rounded-out sensibility about, like, he does have a certain sympathy. He's got a little heart to him. He's at least... He has some humanity to him. He's not an outright jag-off. There's a line towards everything that he's dealing with, and he's not entirely a bad guy.
Right, he's just a hard ass on the outside.
Yeah. Okay, so brother in Kansas City. So they'll probably have it pretty much set where they're filming it.
And I do think that in the story, if I remember correctly, that the Chip character just disappears.
Okay.
He doesn't actually. You don't physically see him get killed by the two.
It's more ambiguous.
It's implied, right? And then the suspicion is confirmed when the third student shows up as a replacement.
Okay. Yeah.
Well, I guess it's really not, because he's gone from the class no matter what.
Right.
So the spot is filled, whether harm was caused to him or not.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess in this story...
We got time to fill. We can be explicit.
Right. I mean, we might as well, if we're going to show them anyway.
Right.
And there's an MO of being run down by the car.
Right.
Although I guess the second one, the girl was hung.
Right.
Hanged, right? You say hanged, not hung?
I'm not...
I think
you know more about grammar than I do.
I'm pretty... You're right. I'm pretty sure that... pretty sure hanged is appropriate and correct. It doesn't sound right, but it is. Good cop mustache.
Oh, yeah.
They're really leaning into the suspect thing, which I like.
Yeah, it's a nice conflict. It strains his emotions for the entire thing. He's got to deal with the cops thinking he's done something because he's kind of jumping here and there. He's being very erratic about everything he's doing, and he doesn't have anything to really back up what he's saying, and everything he says is a little bit hard to chew on.
Right, it creates another layer to extend the movie to 90 minutes without being creatively poofy.
Yeah.
You know, like they don't have to just keep adding on crap like in Children of the Corn that didn't exist.
Yeah.
They took a natural storytelling element and just
branched out.
Right.
From there. Yeah.
Right.
You guys are well creepy.
Yeah.
They're all
Again,
really
look at the
good.
bloodshot eyes here. Just a little bit of eyeliner or whatever. Yeah, this guy's very familiar.
Oh, yeah.
And he's the one that's playing Vinnie Vincent. I like that he's chewing.
Yeah.
It's so condescending.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's very dismissive type of thing. Whatever.
Right.
His mind's already kind of made up.
Right.
He just wants a confirmation. Give me something to hang you with. And he looks like a Chicago cop, too.
He does. Great lighting, too.
Oh, yeah. This whole... Whatever they're doing with this radio light that's going through or whatever.
Yeah, this is a good expansion on the story.
Yeah.
Cool as a corpse is a nice line.
In fact, it plays on that little, that kind of face turn type of thing. You've given the character some sympathy from the audience now. They've seen that he's got some compassion or whatnot, and you play further on to get more sympathy out of him because now he's hooked up in the fucking car with these psychos.
Right, and now the audience is like, oh man, I hope he doesn't get killed.
Yeah.
Even though in the first scene you're like, oh, look at that, that's so good.
We're going to check the credits on who did the makeup on this one, man.
Oh, that's so
really
good.
Yeah, that's even better.
It looks a little maskish, but it's fine. I love the jaw, the broken jaw.
Yeah. It's all really exceptional.
Those are pieces of a body. The head, oh my god, that's so great.
Yeah, I'd like to get like a interview or something like that with McLoughlin, just kind of talk about like how much money they had to work on and everything like that. Because I mean, even though you're building off of it, which was probably fairly expensive for a TV movie at the time, this is not as big of a production in terms of length I don't think that, like I said, I can't imagine they put more than $1 million in this thing, but they definitely, whatever money they gave them, they've maximized it.
Yeah, I mean, I imagine the makeup effects were a good chunk of the budget.
Yeah.
Right?
Then you got,
and then the car getting hit by the train. That's
because they had two different cars. One didn't have like a back seat because they kind of like didn't have the money to kind of like build the whole thing out.
Sure.
So they used that for the stunt and everything that when it blew up. So
I imagine you could use that as well for a camera crew. Could be in the back.
Yeah,
you know,
something like that. Yeah. So they had like a main hero car. Then they just had one to kind of wreck and stuff like that.
She's got a great presence about her.
Oh, yeah. Everything I've seen from her, I've absolutely loved. She's great in the Body Snatchers remake with Donald Sutherland, so she's done some really solid work.
And what's wonderful is that he has a built-in alibi.
He was
right.
with the cop when the entire incident went down. But still,
there's reasonable doubt
there
reasonable doubt.
Low brow things like, I'm still not entirely convinced that you're not somehow
involved.
culpable.
Right,
yeah.
right.
You just see it weighing on him, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
The character's not sleeping. He's been through all this psychological strain. That's nice too.
Yeah, that's a really great.
Just touch on the fact that it's a little supernatural, but you're not going over the top with it.
That's another thing that is created for the story here is the anniversary element.
Okay. I mean, is a thing like they still could have had it like the 15-year gap thing, but then they'd have to move it all in the 70s, and you have to change the style of the characters, and you have to change the car entirely. So I do like the fact that they made the elasticity in the timeline that still maintained the 50s aspect.
You're right, because I think if these characters and the car were of a 70s appearance,
like a muscle car or something, yeah, it wouldn't feel the same.
Agreed. Yeah, Stephen King loves the 50s. He also loves cars as...
Oh, yeah. Clearly. And this is a hell of a sequence, too.
Yeah, this is crazy time.
Yeah.
It's one of those boxy 80s cars.
Oof.
How did he survive that?
It's a great sequence. Yeah, he only had 30 days to shoot the whole thing, which is about on par for a TV movie, but I know McLoughlin just got talent. He knows how to put the pieces in the right places and make it happen.
Yeah, I definitely think, 30 days is, I guess, a tight window, but it's really well done.
Yeah.
You'd think that would carry some weight, though, that the kid corroborates the black car story.
Yeah.
What's he got on those pajamas there?
I was curious. I'm not sure.
Airplanes?
Probably, yeah.
Dad couldn't even, splurge for some Chicago Cubs pajamas for the boy? Come on. This is his brother's hat.
I believe so, yeah.
It's got a W on it. The hat is in the story, but a completely different application for the hat that we'll get to here in a minute. Are you aware of how the story ends in the book?
I read a little bit of it, yeah. I read a summary of it.
Okay.
It goes on some weird dark direction.
Yes. It's about this point in the story where Jim begins reading a book called Summoning Demons.
Yes.
So we'll just let that sit here for a minute. Yeah. Summoning Demons. Keep that on ice for a minute. Where are we at here? We're a little over an hour in.
Yeah, so we got about another
30 minutes?
35 minutes.
Great response.
Right.
Yeah, the 27 is interesting.
Yeah.
I wonder who decided that was going to be... do you think that could have been something that was changed even by CBS that said, we want a connection to that other movie?
That's possible, because it says the thing was published in 74, so even that doesn't make it the same year back, I don't think.
No.
That'd be 59, so this would be 90...
This came out in 91.
91 minus 27 goes to... 91 minus 27. That's a 60.
64, yeah.
That's weird. It's a little odd. Should be more like 32 years, but then he'd have to be like 50-something. So, they're a little...
Yeah, it's a little here and there.
I mean, maybe you could say this takes place in like 88 or something like that, but they're still dancing around some things.
Now, why do they got to go and make the
especially with the mullet kid, isn't he? He ain't gonna be he ain't like 85 or nothing.
Right. Yeah. Now, this is slightly different than in the story. In the story. In the book, they don't live in the same town.
Okay.
So he actually calls back to his hometown, gets the officer on the phone, and then gets the information of where he can reach Officer Nell, and calls him on the phone. So this entire transaction happens over the phone. They don't actually meet up in person.
Okay.
And none of this is in the story. All of the backstory on Nell. Essentially, it boils down to, hey, Officer Nell, do you remember when my brother got killed? Can you find out what happened to the boys?
Okay.
Do these names sound familiar? And he
Okay.
rattles off names of his students now.
Yeah.
And at some point, Nell gets back to him and says, you know, you're right about
This,
this,
one,
this, and this. Yeah. And, you know, oh, is there a Milford? Well, the only Milford I know isn't a high school, it's the cemetery.
Yeah, all right. There it is. It's a nice thing. You don't have to have them say it. Then you transition the scene, and it's smart enough for the audience to catch
To
on
put the
whole
pieces
thing.
together, right. Yeah, that's a great editing.
Very much. I'm very pleased how efficient the storytelling is here.
Do you think it has something to do with the fact that it's for television and that there's commercial breaks built in?
Some places maybe. I mean, there's a few points where it fades out, fades back in, but they're not as often.
Why would these two be buried next to each other?
I mean, of course, there's the thing where they're like
All three of them.
They have to make the film only a certain length so it fits in like the 2-hour primetime slot or whatnot. But it's not like they added a bunch of padding in here to kind of extend it out to fill the slot or something like that, or they cut out a bunch of stuff because there was too much.
Right.
It feels like they kind of hit everything just the right measures. And so, his only credit is Old Officer Nell, but I was looking up and there's an Aloysius Nell, who's a cop in It.
Okay.
And he apparently, I think while I was reading, he was in the adaptation from 1990.
There's a fade out, so that could have been. This could be a commercial
It's about
break.
the second one I've seen, I think. So, but they don't feel too jarring or anything like that. They feel everything feels like they kind of time those out in a very dramatic sense. It's not like the theatrical feature that gets stuck into the TV version and they're kind of cutting out in a weird place.
Right,
and
right.
Ruins the momentum. Conversely, when you're talking about like King films that were TV movies but then put out theatrically, Salem's Lot from Hooper.
Yeah.
It was like, I don't know, a 2-night event or whatnot, but then
That's
they
correct.
cut it down to like 90 minutes to put it out in the theaters in Europe or something like that, and
It wouldn't work.
I don't think people like that version at all.
No, I don't see why they would.
I don't think so. And that one's been, I think that one's been much more readily released on home video. I'd have to double check that. I don't know that the full version's currently available.
Now, this is entirely fabricated for the story. He does not.
No.
He does not get a hold of this Mueller guy,
Okay.
who wasn't even named Mueller.
Okay.
Now, so he brings Mueller to the train tunnel.
Mm-hmm.
And this is where the final confrontation is going to take place, right? We're going to build from here?
Yeah.
Okay. So, in the story,
Mm-hmm.
we start with he asks Officer Nell to contact him back on the night when the wife is going to be away at like a pottery class or
Okay.
something, so that she doesn't think that they're crazy, right?
Sure.
When she's not home, we'll do our investigating and really
Right.
whatever. So she's away at the pottery class. He specifically tells her that, well, the kid got killed. Don't walk. I know it's close. Get a cab.
Right.
I want you to be safe. Mm-hmm. And then, so he brings Mueller to the train tunnel. And this is where the final confrontation is going to take place, right? We're going to build from here. Okay. So, in the story, he asks Officer Nell to contact him back on the night when the wife is going to be away at like a pottery class or something, so that she doesn't think that they're crazy, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then he gets a call from the hospital that his wife is in the hospital. He races to the hospital.
Mm-hmm.
She doesn't make it.
Yeah, she's in a cabin that gets run off and the road and everything.
Right. So he arrives at the hospital. The wife is killed.
Mm-hmm.
So that really just sends him over the edge.
Yeah.
And it's fairly clear here that she lives through the movie.
Yes, she does.
Now, I thought for a minute that they were going to kill the kid for the
with the rundown.
With the rundown as kind of the comp for the movie.
Sure, maybe.
But they never did that.
No.
So now, he's really just over the edge. His wife is dead. All of his kids are dead. The ghosts are coming for him. So what do? We summon demons.
Summon demons.
So he basically lures them back to the school.
Mm-hmm.
And the story takes place, the end of the movie takes place in the school. And he goes in after hours. He goes to the English class. He rearranges all the furniture so that there's a nice big empty floor where he draws a pentagram on the floor.
Yes.
And Jim then, oh my God, I can't even believe him. Can't even believe him. He brings some
wild now.
He gonna get wild. He brings some items with him.
Nuts! I can see the string on the door that was creepy.
Oh no, that's bad. I'm sorry.
No.
Yeah, it's not on that shot.
No, it was on the other one.
You
couldn't just have someone below frame just gonna pull it close.
Right, you just do it below frame. You have somebody laying on the floor.
All right.
Okay, so he brings some items with him to offer up for the demons.
Yeah, of course. Well,
because you can't summon demons without offerings, right?
I mean, come on.
We all know this.
Free.
So he's got a Polaroid of him and his brother.
Okay.
He's got a piece of the hat.
Okay.
That you got to have a piece of the whatever.
Yeah.
Oh, look at that! Oh, hello. That's a great line. And I suppose you got to have he's got a vial of blood from an alley cat that he murdered on the way.
God damn, it's Pet Cemetery.
Kind of. So, our babyface teacher has murdered a cat and brought a vial of blood with him. Okay, and now you think that's weird. You need your own personal sacrifice.
Yeah.
He literally cuts off his own fingers.
Yes.
His
index fingers, I believe it was.
On both hands.
Yes.
He cuts them off. Throws them into the pentagram. Now he recites from the book Summoning Demons.
Christ on his throne, no.
After all of this, the brother, Wayne, emerges from the pentagram.
Yeah.
And then, now the boys are approaching the classroom.
Right.
And we recreate the final scene in the classroom. So the whole thing with the stabbing and the running away and whatever. It all takes place in the English class. Him with 8 fingers, eight digits.
Bleeding out.
Right.
Probably.
Basically. And, essentially as the logic behind them, the bullies, crumbling and dying off, isn't really, I don't know if it's Wayne is now the face of, good.
It's more the demon kind of takes the form of the brother. It's not so much the brother himself.
Right. He summoned a demon in the shape of Wayne that, kills off the bullies with their touch. Now here they've gone to the church, right?
Yeah.
Which is, I guess, a similar variant on the story.
Sure.
And this is an interesting cinematic difference, I have to change what happened. So, I like that she, if we're going to keep her alive, I like that she has now been validating the story because they've attacked her as well.
Right.
So that is a logical progression of the story. I like that.
It creates a solidarity. He's not so much kind of like going crazy, doubting himself, not sure what the hell's going on. It's happening to all of them. He knows it's real, and he knows he has to do something concretely about it.
And he's got them locked safe away in a place of,
worship,
holy
holiness.
worship, right? So allegedly they're safe. But because we're not going to go the route of summoning demons,
Right.
we need to kind of rewrite the story here.
Yeah. We're branched off an entirely different path now.
It's kind of the same means to or same ends, just different means to get there.
A little bit, yeah.
Here's another instance of why is the house still there, just abandoned?
Yeah, we've been there on a couple of things, mostly Halloween films. By yourself, just stands around, decrepit, falling apart.
Right. Can't sell the house. This is good. He's trying to get down to the last detail, right?
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, what do we got in here? Some baseball cards.
12 cents, I think.
Now, in the story, it's 4 cents. But I guess that doesn't really matter. It's a minuscule amount of money.
Sure.
And he has the keys. That's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
When would he... Oh, I guess they fell out and he grabbed them when he ran away?
Yeah.
To ensure that they could not get away? Is that what happened?
I suppose, yeah.
I feel like this guy's been in some other Stephen King adaptations.
Even Sanderson, I mean, he's been 100,000 different things.
I'm gonna dial him up here to read off some of the other...
I see him, I just think Blade Runner. But
He had a run on Deadwood, which is a tremendous television show. He was in Coal Miner's Daughter, which is one of my favorite movies.
okay.
Let's see. You're right, Blade Runner.
Spacek from Carrie
Yep.
wins an Oscar.
And he was nominated, but didn't win. Tommy Lee Jones.
Oh yeah.
He was in The Client.
Okay.
Let's see. I'm looking for another
Adaptation,
yeah, and I'm not seeing any, so I'm wondering if what I'm thinking of is...
There we go.
Whoa!
Blow up a couple more bucks on this one, on the budget.
Although the fire was clearly in front of the van, and then they added it on.
Not quite kablooey,
There was no...
just roasting.
Yeah, I'm not seeing any other adaptations. I feel like he's been in a million things. And maybe I'm just confusing him with...
He's like a Harry Dean Stanton. He's just character actor all day long.
Right. He's...
Working on one thing after another.
And that really, I guess, goes to his credit, where people watch it and they go, I know that guy.
Yeah.
Where do I know him from? Honey, where did we see him before?
You know from so much you can't name anything.
Right,
You can't pin it
exactly,
down
exactly.
because it's all over the place.
It's like ubiquitous. Love the flames coming out the back.
That's great. That just adds that health. I mean, that's like straight out of Christine almost.
It is a little bit of a play on that.
A little bit.
Even though that's not mentioned at all in the book.
But it's nice. McLoughlin probably has that in the back of his head. Like, I got a little bit of something to compete with on that thing. I'm doing a keen thing. There's a very kind of 50s car. I got to jazz it up a little bit somehow.
Right.
Whether or not it was in the story, it's like visually I got to do something here that really makes it kind of look like it's straight out of hell.
Like we were saying, King loves the idea of a car being a character in the movie.
Yeah.
And there is a book that came out.
Oh, that's nice.
Ooh.
That's a nice touch.
That is a great little thing. Kind of the threshold of evil.
Yeah.
And, good and evil.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah, that's nice. Nice stuff.
A nice little storytelling element there, yeah.
Oh, nice flip there, man. What the hell?
Was that Rusler?
Yeah.
That didn't look like a stunt double either.
No.
Okay, so if I ever meet Robert Rusler...
Yeah, I gotta ask him about that.
I've not met Robert. Now,
I was going to ask you if you got...
No, he's not on my poster.
Elm Street poster. Yeah.
I have an Elm Street poster that's signed by like 25 different cast members from all the films. And Rusler, I don't know, I feel like he's only ever been at one or two conventions that I've ever been at.
I feel like I saw he's coming up to, I don't know, Days of the Dead or Flashback or something.
I don't know, but if he comes... He's next on my list. And I want to ask him about this. Sometimes they come back, the flip. Anyway, Stephen King wrote a book in the early 2000s. I believe it was right after his being hit by the car and nearly dying.
Oh, okay, yeah, that was bad news.
And it's called From a Buick 8.
I've heard of that.
And
just the title.
Yep. And it's a very bizarre story. That every chapter oscillates back and forth between now and then. And I guess the gist of it is that this car appeared and it was kind of an alien. Like it's an alien car. And it was kind of quarantined by the police where it still remains to this day.
Okay.
But anytime anybody interacts with it, weird shit happens. And it's really kind of a crazy story. And from what I understand, they are finally adapting it into a movie.
Okay.
And I'm so curious to see how that turns out. I need to go back and reread it because I read it when it was new.
Okay.
And I haven't read it since. Yeah, they're really expanding this back into the story, but it's not bad, you know?
Yeah.
Everything is logical. It doesn't feel like filler. Unlike everything that we saw in Children of the Corn.
Yeah, we're just wasting time.
That's great. The kid runs out. They grab him.
Yeah, now you're
We have
screwed.
more. We have even more peril.
Mm-hmm.
Oh boy.
Rusler feels like such a star here, man.
He's one of those guys I feel like that never got to where he should have gotten.
Yeah.
Like, nobody saw Freddy's Revenge. Like, until the home video market later on.
No one had any respect for it.
Well, right. Nobody saw it, and those that didn't like it.
Right.
So,
right.
He was dismissed, even though he's very good in it.
Right.
And then things like this come along, and again, like, he should have been a bigger star than he was.
Yeah.
great thread. If you're a fan of Sean Clark and the Horror's Hallowed Grounds show that he does.
Great shot.
That is a great shot. Sean Clark does the filming locations for horror movies show. They're attached to a lot of the Scream Factory DVDs. I believe they were on some sort of TV channel at some point, but one of the running gags throughout all of those is that Sean Clark keeps running into Robert Rusler, the actor. And Robert Rusler, the actor, says, "Oh, are you finally doing my movie, Nightmare on Elm Street 2? But it's never that one. It's always something else." And eventually it gets heated, and Rusler chases him away, or they come to blows. And it's just this running gag that happens across 3 or 4, maybe 5 episodes of Horror's Hallowed Grounds. And to this day, they have never made a Nightmare on Elm Street Part 2 one. And it's just hilarious. To the point where...
if they ever get around to the 4K set, maybe.
Now, I was even a part of a panel that Sean Clark was doing, and Robert Rusler burst in to the panel. So they've carried it on throughout... like it's a running gag between them, and they're great friends. But they've just got this storyline that they've built up. That Rusler always is expecting Sean Clark to be shooting his movie, quote unquote, and it never is. Which is dismissive of Freddy's Revenge in general, you know what I mean?
Even this one too. I wouldn't mind getting a tour of some of these places in Kansas and Missouri and everything.
Right, that'd be great. And now, I guess, in this version, Mueller's going to take the place of Wayne, right?
Yeah.
Vinny, you bum. Bum, I need to bring back bum. Bum is not used nearly enough anymore as an insult. Nobody used bum like Rocky Balboa.
Yeah.
Rocky Balboa called somebody a bum, and you just...
It's more Mickey who called Rocky a bum.
Well, everybody called everybody a bum.
Yeah, sure.
Paulie calls everybody a bum in that movie.
Paulie is a bum.
Paulie is a bum. That's great. That's exactly right. But we need to bring back bum as you bum.
Yeah. What do you think about this portal?
Oh, we're summoning demons.
Yeah. But
what were you saying about the portal?
How do you feel about this effect? To me, it felt a little on the hokey side.
What was that TV show with Michael Landon?
Touched by an Angel?
That could be it, where they had the similar effect, right?
Highway to Heaven.
You're right. Highway to Heaven. That's it. Didn't they use that same effect where
I never watched it.
where he kind of appears out of the bubble? I think that's correct. You know, he reminds me of is the kid. He reminds me of in It, the older brother.
A little bit, yeah, the stutterer one.
Right. Yeah, Big Bill.
Yeah.
Again, that ghostly train. Great sound effect. That's a nice little element to adding to the story, that it's revealed that he's really the reason that they didn't make it out. Always the next time. Yeah, this is great. I mean, this is a great little bookend.
Yeah.
I didn't watch this when it was new, like as a miniseries.
Sure, yeah.
I got it on the home video rental market. And I'm not going to lie, I was probably drawn in by that great cover art with the car and the flames. Oh, the burning faces, the demons. We've summoned demons.
Nice work.
What a great shot this is. There's a little special effect in there with the lightning but it looks pretty, and the fadeaway of the train.
Really good stuff, man.
Really well done. Yeah. Even though this is like, soundstage to hell in here.
A little bit, yeah. Some of it is. At the time, if you look at some TV movies, like sometimes they have some shoddy effects and things aren't done quite well. It's like the technical aptitude on this thing is very high.
This is a nice little element.
Yeah.
Wayne doesn't know.
Yeah.
He doesn't know he's dead. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's what's it's nice. It's a great little thing.
Right.
Yeah, this is great. And none of this is in the story at all.
Yeah.
But really well done. Look at the light on those blue eyes.
Oh yeah.
And of course, they gave him a blue shirt.
Yeah.
To
complement
it. I have blue eyes, and it's funny how every time I wear a bright blue shirt, people go, "Oh, your eyes are really blue." Like it just works that way. I don't know why, but it does. We're just mutants, I guess. Yeah, this is, I like it. It's a little drawn out here, though.
It's a little bit, yeah.
Essentially, the resolution of conflict is the official end of Act 2 in the beginning of 3, right? So, you now have only like 10 minutes to clean it up and get out of town. Which is why Return of the King is terrible. Because the minute that ring goes into the thing, the story's over.
Yeah.
And you only got 10 minutes to get out of there. But what do? They take 40 minutes.
We've got 12 other characters to wrap up here.
Right. Yeah, when they fly home on the Eagle or whatever, roll credits. That's it. The movie's over. I'm still bitter. It's been this is 20 years.
20 years.
I'm not saying that Lord of the Rings isn't maybe the best movie ever made when you put all three of them together, because it's a stellar piece of filmmaking.
Yes.
But I'm salty about that Best Picture.
Yeah.
That's a Canadian, I think. Canadian dime.
Maybe.
There's a wheat penny for sure.
It was nice the fact, they did change this entire final third of the entire film, they still maintained a consistent tone throughout it. It's not felt like they were building up towards one thing and it was on a certain track, and then they kind of changed how the entire film felt.
Right.
Going off into a different type of ending. Everything felt very consistent on the But he's being a little saccharine in some places, being a little sympathetic with the characters, still having a tone that was very kind of warm to the family and everything like that. So
what I found really interesting, in the last couple paragraphs of the book, or the story, I guess, he's leaving the classroom.
Okay.
He's got 8 fingers. They're all wrapped up. He's coming down the stairs, and he sees something in his peripheral vision.
Okay.
And he turns around, and he thinks that he might, like, see a ghost or something.
Okay.
And then he remembers that when you summon demons, they do go away.
Yeah.
But sometimes they come back.
Yes.
Is the line. So it's actually not about the students, the murderers coming back.
Right.
It's about the demons.
Yeah.
Which I thought was fucking awesome.
Yeah.
Like, it's a double whammy.
Double meaning,
it works both ways. But how cool is that? Like, maybe that demon
and that
did its job.
That feels like a very King ending to me. Just have that sort of bleakness over top of it.
Yes. Like, okay, the demon did its job and helped me out. But am I safe?
You might have to pay for it at some point.
Right. Yeah, so good.
I'm not familiar with that makeup artist, Gabe Bartolow's Atlantic West, but
I don't know.
Did a great job.
I mean, these are probably CBS people, you know.
Possibly, yeah.
You know, you don't usually, you know, when it's a TV movie, you don't often get, like, your Hollywood people to work on it.
Right.
You know, you get your up-and-comers, your
some people are
interns or whatever,
contracted to the network and stuff.
You know, I guess a comp could be, you know, going back to our wrestling days, you know, the WCW show was on TBS or TNT.
Right.
WCW didn't own the cameramen.
No.
They just Turner's people just showed up, and it was different people every week.
Right. That's why it never looked as good as the WWF stuff.
Exactly.
So the same people producing it day in and day out.
That's kind of what I'm getting at here, is that the CBS just goes, oh, we're making a movie. Whoever we got, who do we got? We got Best Boy.
Right.
We got Best Boy number 3. Come on down.
Yeah. You get the picture, cinematographer, editor, maybe your composer, but everyone else is just
whoever's laying around.
Regular folks, you know.
Liberty, Missouri. So interesting, because they use the name Liberty on the cop cars and whatever. So, that's fine.
Yeah.
Liberty, Missouri has absolutely nothing to do with the story in the book, but
no.
It's somewhere in New England for sure. But I don't know. Great little story. I love it.
Yeah, this was good. I very much enjoyed this one.
Let us know what you think in the comments, and hopefully we get more King again later on this year.
Yeah. So
I know we will.
We will, yes. So guys, thanks so much and very much, and take care.
Nighty-night.